Hello and welcome to Stretford, Paddock. This is your morning news. I am Casey, and we're just going to get straight into it with, well, what is the big news this morning? And that is that United are through to the Europa League final. You thought I was going to talk about something else, but first we're going to talk about Europa League final. United, obviously, last night lost 3-2 to Roma, but they had to lose by quite a margin in order to be out of the competition. But you could see that from how United played last night. They knew that they were in that game not to lose 4-0. David De Gea had a fantastic game indeed. He made a lot of saves, especially that fantastic double save in the second half to stop Roma probably getting back into it and making a nervy end to the game. We had a bit of rotation. Donny van der Beek played okay. He didn't really do much, but in all, wasn't really much of a game. We didn't lose 4-0. We're through to the Europa League final, and that will be against Unai Emery's Villarreal. Unai Emery getting one over on his old club and getting to the Europa League final, which will be held on the 26th of May, which I've been informed is a Wednesday, which will be very nice to have a European game on a Wednesday for the first time in a while. But yeah, Villarreal, obviously, great team, well put together. Have a couple of ex-Arsenal players in there, Francis Coquelin being one of them. And they have a United target for the summer, apparently, in Pau Torres. So it'll be interesting to see how he plays against what might be his new teammates if it goes the way that we want this summer. But we'll have to talk about that after we talk about a story that you probably haven't heard in a while because there hasn't been that much news on it, but this transfer window's coming up, so it's coming back around again, and that is Jadon Sancho. Now, Jadon Sancho, we haven't heard from in a while. Apparently, last summer, we were very close to signing him, but we didn't stump up what Dortmund wanted. And apparently what Dortmund now want is a lot less. They now want £78 million. I don't know what that is in euros. That's probably about 90 million euros. But that's apparently the bottom of what they want. Maybe we'll be able to negotiate it down, but £78 million is a very decent price for Sancho. Obviously, he's going to be reduced because he's now got 1 year left on his contract. Everyone had that revelation last year when he was like, oh, he's magically got another year on his contract that we signed in secret, but here we are. So yeah, Jadon Sancho is going to be available for less. I think that United should definitely go and get him. I saw someone in the comments before asking what that means for Rashford. It means Rashford actually gets to play on the left for most of the time because he doesn't play well on the right, and he's been filling in on the right because we don't have a natural right winger. And Greenwood is a striker and has been filling in on the right because we don't have a natural right winger. So this will mean that finally we have someone who's made to play on the right-hand side and players can play in their natural positions. And Greenwood can actually be able to grow and learn more in that striker position. Now, Michel Zorc has come out and talked about this, and he said that last year we had a gentleman's agreement with Sancho that he could leave if certain conditions were met, and it's the same for this summer. I think that this is going to be the big selling of Dortmund this year. Obviously, they've made a habit of making big sales to fund their projects, to fund their youth players, to fund whatever they want to do with this club. And they kind of, I'm thinking, wants to keep Erling Haaland this season. So I think they're going to take the money that they need from Sancho and they're going to use that to help fund the club this summer. But that'll be interesting to see because, as I said, having a player that's finally good on the right wing is something that United have needed for a long time. Obviously, we've had Juan Mata play out there. We've had Jesse Lingard. Both naturally like central players, so they don't really work well there. We've played Daniel James, Rashford, Greenwood on there. The latter being a striker, the former being two left wingers who aren't naturally suited to that side. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. I've seen someone in the comments say we need a good summer and before the Euros, before prices go up. Yeah, that's basically the problem. Like this is where international competitions are always problematic because some clubs don't want to sell because the prices might go up in the Euros. Some want to get it out of the way so they can deal with their problems as well before the Euros. Jadon Sancho is going to be an interesting one, personally, because I don't actually know if Southgate really favours him in the England setup. He doesn't seem to play as much as you'd think. Maybe last time around it was because he was injured, but even in the past, I haven't really seen him played as much. So maybe he won't be affected that much by the Euros. And I think stuff like contract situations and the contract situations of a year being left on the contract will probably affect him a lot more. Let's reload the comments. Disco Dingo Sancho is really good. We need a creative presence from the right. Yes. Is this a reliable source? The stuff about having a gentleman's agreement and the stuff being made, that came straight from Zorc's mouth. That was reported in a newspaper. And also the 78 million is in goal, which probably is not the most reliable, but I've heard Fabrizio Romano kind of talk around it. There's been a couple of clubs. He's also said there's a couple of clubs interested. Liverpool, Chelsea, Manchester United. I think Chelsea don't really need to spend in their forward line. They've obviously spent a lot so far. They're playing quite well. Liverpool might not be getting Champions League, which is probably one of the big reasons Sancho was wary about coming to United last season. So I think United are in a really good position for Sancho. Now, moving on to the next story, and that is that Donny van de Beek is apparently being scouted for Roma, along with a couple of players. To be fair, the players that I've got listed for Roma kind of weren't the ones I was expecting, if I put it that way. Apparently, Donny van de Beek and David De Gea are both on Jose Mourinho's wish list if he to sign when he joins Roma. The De Gea one is from Corriere dello Sport. Now, those weren't the players I was expecting. I was expecting a very good right back who plays for AC Milan. Well, very good crossing right back that Mourinho brought in, which was Diogo Dalot, to be on his wish list. And we might see that. I think that is going to be one of the transfers we probably see this summer, and that is Diogo Dalot going to AS Roma, because it's been shown that he's not in Solskjaer's plans and that he's played in the Serie A, he has the experience, and Mourinho likes him. So I feel like that is a transfer that you probably were going to see happen. David De Gea to Roma is a strange one. I don't think they really have the money to be spending 40 million on a goalkeeper. They don't really seem to ever spend that much money on certain players. So it'd be interesting to see if that one goes through. The Donny van de Beek stuff. Now, this is kind of the progression of what happened earlier on in the summer, where people had problems with Donny van de Beek not being played, and obviously they said, oh, he wants to leave, oh, he's not happy. And then it came out that he was very happy and he didn't really care. The thing is, Donny van de Beek came, and I've said this before, came in as a rotation option for Bruno Fernandes. And I feel like once we get more signings in, once we play better, once we have creative outlets across the field, if Jadon Sancho comes in and stuff like that, and maybe we get a different striker, so on and so forth, you may see Donny van de Beek filling in for Fernandes more, because Fernandes, when he plays, is so integral to how we play football. And I feel like it's not just the fact of you drop him because he's poor form or you drop him because he needs a rest. He helps push the team forward in these big games. He helps bring the team up to a standard that they need to be. And I think that's an influence that you can't understate at this moment in time. And I'm hoping that once we get more players, Fernandes will be allowed on the rest. Fernandes will be able to play less cup games and stuff. And Donny van de Beek gets more of a showing, because we saw last night that he's not really suited to that number 6 role. He can't do what Pogba does and ping it about. He can't. He's more get the ball, give the ball, go, get between the lines, that sort of player. And that doesn't really work for a number 6. XOH said De Gea may go to PSG to play under Pochettino. Yeah, that's one of the transfers that got touted in the past. I think they're quite happy with Keylor Navas at the moment. He's been fantastic for them so far this year. They've just obviously they've misfired a bit. And I don't think he'll end up at PSG. I think they'll spend money elsewhere and probably contract situations. At the bottom here, you can see Jose wants United players. Nemanja Matic was also the other one I'd see in the reports of being wanted by Roma. He's obviously at the end of his career. He's kind of got his legs off him, and Matic is one of those players I think Mourinho likes having in his dressing room, because he knows how Mourinho wants to play. He understands Mourinho, and he can be kind of bounce off Mourinho in terms of getting the players on side with what Mourinho wants to do. So if we sold Nemanja Matic to Roma for a small fee, then I wouldn't mind, because obviously he's coming to the end, especially if we invest in playing in buying another DM, because we definitely need another DM. Now, there's a couple of other things that have come out this morning. Obviously, United have announced that, probably in a sort of way to try and pacify some fans, that if you're a season ticket holder and you want to go to Gdansk for the final, obviously it would be £399 travel or £389 travel. They're going to subsidise £200 for you to get to Gdansk, which is a nice gesture, but obviously, yeah, at this moment in time, it's a bit of an empty one at this point. It's kind of looking at like those sort of situations where you're like, well, you'd think they'd do that anyway in this sort of situation. So it's what you take from that gesture is what you think. We look at some of the comments. What I've seen of Donny hasn't been great. He looks like a lost puppy. I think that's more, he's not really played that much. You see, like, at the start of when United started playing football, we didn't know how to play with each other. And I think Donny van der Beek obviously has a style of football that he likes to play with Ajax, where they're very close-knit, they know how to play with each other, and him not being in games has kind of affected that. I think he does a lot of good things that doesn't really translate well on the pitch when the rest of the team don't seem to notice. Samuel Fernando, City built a deep squad with players who possess different skill sets. Donny fits that mold for us. Exactly, like, you see how well City have done this season, and it's quite painful to say, but yeah, how well City have done this season is because they've basically got two squads. They've basically got two full teams. They can interchange. Like, De Bruyne got injured. They just brought on Gundogan, who had the best season of his career. Aguero's been injured. They played Gabriel Jesus. They played Phil Foden at a false nine. They've got, if wingers get injured, they've got Bernardo Silva, Mahrez. They've now even got Ferran Torres. It's kind of a situation where they're in a bit of a problem. Like, they just have so many players and that's where United need to get to, because that's another thing when we look at the players where it's like, if we sign Cavani on another contract, do we still need another striker? I would say yes, because the fact is that Paul Scholes put it very well last night. The fact is you get one more year of Cavani, but if that means in the one more year of Cavani that you forego getting the numerous strikers that are available this summer who are good, you've got obviously the two top class ones that may be available in Harry Kane and Erling Haaland, but that's a sort of trade-off. I like Cavani. I think it's very good that he stays, but we do need to plan for the future as well. We still need to clear out Mata, Jones, Lingard, Dalot. Yeah, all of those players I'd say go. I like saying Mata to stay because I think Mata's done very a lot for the club. He's a very good servant, but at the same time he's getting old and I don't really fit how he plays football anymore. Basically, I think that's all we have time for. It's been nice talking to you in the comments. It's nice seeing you all again. But yeah, that's all we have time for. Obviously, we're going to have news throughout next week, and also we've got the watch-alongs, we've got everything. Just make sure you stay tuned, subscribe to the channel, like the video, and yeah, see you next time.